What is up, my friends? It has been a long time since we've had a chance to chat with you on the All Nittany Lion Podcast, but welcome back to those of you that were looking in to tune in for the first time in the new year. A happy new year, a happy holidays. I hope everybody had a wonderful, wonderful holiday season, a wonderful new year. And we are here still talking about Penn State football in 2025. Not to say that we weren't going to, but we're still talking about games being played in 2025. And I can't believe we're getting to do that. I'm super excited to be joined, as always, by my guys, Adam Telefaro and Jason Kabinda. And guys, before we get started, as I said to everybody just a moment ago, a happy holidays to you. I hope your New Year's was wonderful. And I promise I won't say Happy New Year anymore, because I think we're reaching that point where it's time to stop saying it. It's time to just roll forward in 2025.
I'd agree wholeheartedly. It's about that time to stop saying it. This year, I can't believe it's 2025. That sounds very weird to even say come out of my mouth, though. Blessing to be here.
Yeah, and we get an opportunity to and we'll check in with Adam in just a second. I think he might be having some technical difficulties there. We have an opportunity to still talk about meaningful Penn State football. We're not talking about the offseason. We're not talking about recruiting yet. We will, of course. We're not talking about the coaching carousel, which won't impact Penn State, but always impacts college football across the landscape. But Jason, we're talking about a meaningful football game because Penn State is one of the final four teams left in the college football playoff. And I can remember doing a show with you not that long ago where I asked you point blank, who are some of the teams that you think have the legit chances to win a national title? And you said a couple of teams, and you said, and Penn State, because dominating defense, great run game, Tyler Warren, all of those things have seemingly come to fruition. And they're one of four teams remaining with a chance to go to a national title when they take on Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl on Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, what an incredible opportunity for these guys, man. I know they're going to be psyched up, and I know they're probably going to be doing everything in their power, to keep their emotions in check and not peak too early, man, because the opportunity in front of them is massive. To be able to put themselves in a position to, stop talking about the 2016 team, to put their own names and, their team year down in Penn State lore. I think it's just an incredible opportunity for these guys, for Coach Franklin to be able to shut people up about not being able to win the big games. Well, guess what? We just won two big ones, and they were go win and go home. Well, guess what? We ain't home yet, So we down in Miami, you feel me? So I'm excited for this team and what we're doing. It's awesome. It's been a fun year.
So I do want to mention that before we get into the Boise State win, it seems that the benchmarks have moved a little bit for James Franklin, because everybody says James Franklin couldn't beat top 10 opponents and couldn't win the big game. And numerically speaking, his record is not good against top 10 teams. It is fair to say that it's statistically true. However, he just beat two in the span of 2 weeks, right? SMU was 10th, I believe. Boise State was 8th or 9th. And now the benchmark is, oh, well, he can't beat top 5 teams, or he can't beat Ohio State, or he can't beat Michigan. And I said, well, hold on here. If you want to say that the argument was his record against top 10 teams was not particularly good, it's a fair argument to make. But he just won 2 in consecutive weeks. He's gone from 1 top 10 win to 3 top 10 wins in the span of 14 days. Can't move the benchmarks now because he's done what you asked him to do.
Yeah. I totally agree. I mean, I think you can only play who they put in front of you. We all can agree that Penn State had a beautiful path through the playoffs, but these are teams that deserve to be there. SMU had a great season. Boise State had a great season, but Penn State played and really played up to a high standard that these games weren't, they weren't in doubt at any point. And Coach Franklin, as we all know, he's got his teams ready to play. And at this point, you're just hating. I think you're just hating if you're not giving this guy credit for what he's done with this team and where he's gotten this team to this point.
Yeah, I mean, you can make the argument and say that, hey, the ACC wasn't the strongest conference this year. You could say, oh, well, Boise State, they're like that one conference that's kind of outside of the Power Five. They don't really – you could say all that all day. But I think at the end of the day, like, the stakes were the highest they've ever been all season. At the end of the day, if we don't win that game, we're going home. And it doesn't get bigger than that. And guess what? There's only 12 teams that are even in that situation where the games are that meaningful. So I don't care who it is, what the name is. They're in the college football team playoffs, and that means the top 12 teams, period, end of story. So, we went out there, we did what we needed to do, and we did it in dominating fashion. Let's add that part in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk a lot about the Notre Dame game, the Orange Bowl coming up, but we haven't had a chance to talk about the Boise State game since it was played because of the holidays and stuff, so we're back. Let's start with that game, the 31-14 win over the Broncos. And guys, Penn State, I thought was going to score 100 in this game after the first two drives. Boise State goes down the field, misses the field goal. Penn State with a defensive stand. Then they had 2 consecutive drives of total 13 plays, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns to Tyler Warren, and a beautiful ball from Drew Aller to Amari Evans. Then the offense kind of struggled a little bit, or you could say Boise State's defense settled in and kind of didn't allow the opportunity to swell too much, because then it was a fumble. It was 3 points and a field goal at halftime made it 17-7. But when Penn State needed those points the most in the second half, they had drives of 75 and 79 to score twice and really kind of put the pressure on Boise State a little bit. And overall, guys, I thought that what I actually take away from this game, and I'm going to say something that sounds negative, but I almost feel it's a positive heading into Thursday's game against Notre Dame. I thought Penn State played like a B-, C+ game offensively after those first 2 drives and scored 31 points and won the game by 17. And so I look at it and I go, the first 2 drives were excellent. The 2 drives at the end of the game that they needed, they capitalized. Nick Singleton, big run. Kaytron Allen was excellent all game long. But for the in-between period, there was some shaky ground offensively, and they won the game by 17 and kind of felt like they won the game going away after they made it 24-14. So, guys, if they played a less than stellar game against Boise State offensively, still scored 31 points, and ran away with the game in the third and fourth quarter, that to me makes me feel like when this team plays it, if this team does get to play a B+, A- game against Notre Dame, you're feeling pretty good about their chances.
Yeah, and in this game, I think it's obvious we got a little bit too gimmicky in that game. It was just too cute at times. We abandoned the run game at a time where the run game was just outstanding. You know, it was just one of those games where I felt like we didn't need all the BS. We could have just lined up and really ran through them, and it's really, pounded the ball down their throat, and we just didn't. We got too pass happy. So I think that's a result of that. And then we found our run game back, figured out like, okay, we can literally just line up, go outside zone. We'll freaking get 6-7 yards of pop. And we went back to it and we were right back on track. So I think AK, corrected that. I don't want to call it a mistake, but he corrected the flow of the game at a point that he needed to. And I think the offense just got right back rolling. I think going on and moving forward, it's very apparent how strong our run game is and the O-line clicking at the right time right now. I think he's going to roll with that momentum going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Jason, you took the words out of my mouth. I just go back to that 31 play, and we passed the ball, and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, we've been pounding these dudes, but the thing that really was impressive to me was just the physicality of Penn State. I mean, you could just tell, like, Boise State was on both sides of the ball. We talked about Genty almost every week on this podcast. And you just see they was pounding. He was getting up, and you just saw the look in his eye like, man, I have not seen anything or felt anything like this the entire season. And I was talking about people hating. I kind of felt like I was being a hater during the game because I'm like, man, this is the dude they talking about the Heisman. Like, put Genty in the Big Ten and let's see what he's doing. Because I still, again, I only saw one full game of Genty against us, and I was like, I don't know, man, like. I'm torn on right now.
I mean, it was an A performance. You could argue A+ defensive performance. I mean, the dude averaged 3 yards a pop, and in the season that he averaged like 8 or 9, bro. So, I mean, the 126-yard run that he broke off, like that was one of the most impressive 26-yard runs I've seen. He broke like 6 tackles on that run, and not like little arm tackles, like real tackles where guys are in position or like trying to really wrap up, and he just contact balanced himself up out of there. So, I mean, you can see the talent, but I just felt like our defense, I mean, we were just too smothering. The D-line was just too much for their O-line. You could just tell that, I don't want to go as far as saying maybe a talent disparity, but man, I just felt like the D-line played and struck their keys on every single play. They were behind the line of scrimmage. It just really wasn't anywhere for them to go.
And, the thing that I'm really loving is Amari, man. You just see that confidence starting to build. Building, and I'm like, man, this guy is ready to do something special. As it just feels like each game, he's just. I'll tell you, I didn't know he was that fast. my guy is rolling out there, and I just love the confidence that Amari and Trey are starting to show. Of course, Tyler does his thing, but I think those two guys on the outside could be potential X factors as we go deeper into the playoffs here.
Absolutely. So let's talk about that defense for a second, the Penn State defense, because I think you guys are right. Like, I like how you kind of put an asterisk, Jason, on like maybe it's not disparity of talent, but maybe there was an athleticism difference, there was a talent difference, there was a scheme difference. Like, because you could tell on both sides of the ball. You brought up the stretch runs from Kaytron and Nick Singleton early. Penn State was running some great stretch concepts, getting to the outside and just blowing Boise State's defenders off the line. And then inversely, man, Ashton Jeanty, he looked like he was going up against 100 defenders because Penn State's formed so quickly. And we were talking about it all year. Like, how do you bring this guy down when he's averaging a broken tackle every 5 tackle attempts, when his yards per contact or yards after contact would have made him like the 3rd leading rusher in college football this year? Penn State did an excellent job of wrapping up at the point of contact. I talked all week to like friends and to other people and was saying the guys that are going to need to have good games are the interior defensive line and the linebackers to meet at the point of contact, move side to side with him horizontally, but also be able to meet at the point of contact and stand him up. I thought Kobe King had a great game. I thought Tony Rojas played well. I thought Dom DeLuca played well. Interiorly, I thought that Zane Durant played pretty well. I thought it was a really good group effort defensively to hold a guy who you guys mentioned was running for ridiculous numbers throughout the year. He ran for 104 yards, which is a good number, but he did it on 30 carries. He did it on 3.5 yards a carry. And Jason, that 26-yard run that you brought up, like, was an excellent run. Yeah. If you take that run away, which is hard to do in the flow of game, he's 29 for 78, which is 2.7 yards a carry. His yards after contact was minimal. His ability to break tackles was kind of thwarted because they tackled so well. And this is a guy who fumbled the ball twice all year. He fumbled twice and lost one, or fumbled twice in the game in that one.
Yeah.
It only fumbled twice all year. I thought they did a more than commendable job stopping their run game a couple weeks ago.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I was literally just about to say that. He barely fumbled all year. He put the ball on the ground twice. And if one of those fumbles, he didn't even get touched. It's like he was seeing ghosts out there. I literally watched the clip like 3 times. I'm like, nobody even threw a punch, nothing. He just almost basically dropped it. So for a guy not to do that, like, you could tell he was shook. And those are the kind of running backs for the entire week as a defensive player, when you guys are preparing, like, you're seeing all these highlight runs. You're seeing he breaking 60, he's breaking 50, 5 broken tackles. Like, well, that's one of those type of weeks where in your head all week you're like, F this guy, F this guy, F this guy. Like, you know what? Like, that's how you feel. Like, he's not gonna do it on us. It ain't gonna be. And you could tell that the Penn State defense really took that challenge for real. And it just felt like everybody was really, really striking on all cylinders. Like, everybody brought their A game. And when you have that type of back, you want him to feel you. Every single time he touches the ball, you want him going to the ground with 5-6 dudes dragging to the ground and slamming to the ground every time. Like, yeah, we're here. You know what I'm saying? So you could just tell that he didn't want no parts of that at some point in that game.
Jason, you played in the league, man. Like I said, I feel like I'm an Ashton Jeanty hater just from one game. If you're a GM in the NFL, is he still a first-round guy? Like, is he?
Yeah. There's no doubt. He's definitely a first-round guy, especially with the lack of like super, super explosive running back prospects this year. Even like Cam Scatterbo from Arizona State, like, great player, but it's going to be hard to see where he translates at the next level because he lacks in speed. You know, It might make him a fullback and just have to like give him gadget plays. Like, he can be really efficient in that type of role, but as a lead running back one in the NFL, I doubt it. So just from the disparity, I think, in the talent in the running back group this year, I just think there's no way he doesn't go first round if a running back's chosen in the first round.
Yeah, I think to me, it's him. He's still the clear-cut one. And then if I'm picking a 2, and I know Scatterbo had a great year, but if I'm picking a 2, I might go Amari and Hampton from North Carolina.
USC, yeah. I mean, UNC, yeah. I like him a lot.
But all right, so you know, I think that all of this kind of parlays into the next game, and we'll talk about Penn State's defense versus Notre Dame's offense coming up. The last thing that I want to bring up, because it's super, super important. Abdul Carter leaves the game midway through the game, doesn't return. comes back in the celebration, holding the trophy up with just the one hand, hasn't practiced yet this year, this week, excuse me. So first and foremost, let's talk about the replacement for Abdul Carter in the Boise State game, and then we'll talk about how do you replace Abdul Carter against a good run defense or a good run offense in Notre Dame. Amin Vanover, I thought, was excellent. He was a havoc wrecker, and he was asked to play more snaps than he had played for pretty much the entirety of the year in any one individual game. And he stepped in, and I think as valiantly as you could, he was a difference maker on the defensive line. I felt like I heard his name and saw his number a ton after stepping in as kind of the lead edge rusher opposite Denai Dennis Sutton once Abdul Carter left the game.
I love the way you said it. Like, he was a difference maker. You know, when you come in off of the bench, you don't want to be a guy that just comes in and blends in. You want to be a guy that comes in and makes a difference. And, you know, I mean, he really did that in that game. I was really impressed with him. And that just shows the level of preparation. It shows the maturity in the room, that next man mentality that we talk about in football all the time. And this team has shown that in various situations. So that was awesome to see him step up and be able to take advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah, like, hey, awesome, man. I you know, when Abdul went down, well, one, I'm still mad at the TV broadcast because, like, Abdul goes down and there's like no like commentary. It's just like he's like a walk on, like he's just a dude. Like, just I thought there was gonna be some more follow up throughout the game, but it was just strange to me that they didn't really hone in on that too much. But Vanover came in, and the one play I think it was like an option. He was like the read guy, and the quarterback pitches it out, and he like goes out there and makes the play. Like, I'm like, dude, he's out there balling. Coming off the bench. So, both of you guys already said, I thought it was a great game for him. And again, what a confidence builder for him coming in, showing like, hey, man, I can play, I can do this. So I just love the fact, to your point, Jason, that next man up mentality, and that he just showed that, hey, I could be out here, I can ball out, and I'm a guy. If you need me, I can step right in.
But by the way, Adam, I'm glad you brought that up. Multiple people in the booth. Now, they can't control what information gets passed to them as they're calling the game, but multiple people in the booth, and not one but two sideline reporters, because it's a big game, and for 2+ hours we don't hear a word about the Abdul Carter update. I thought that was, listen, I'm not a bash the broadcast guy too much. As somebody whose career is in broadcast, that I know sometimes you don't have the best day on the job, but it felt to me like there was a nearly 2 hours of real life window where we didn't hear a word about an Abdul Carter update. I heard a couple of times, hey, Abdul Carter's not returned, but no update on what the injury was. And I know that they're kind of keeping it close to the vest still to this day, but it felt like it was a missed opportunity from that broadcast to say, hey, Abdul Carter, here's what I talked to James Franklin, or I talked to Tom Allen, or I talked to whomever, and they said, here's no update. Just give us something.
Yeah, it was strange.
Yeah, man.
Strange.
But guys, I think that obviously it's been a couple of days since this Boise State game, so we're pretty much good on what we talked about there. Well, a lot of it parlays, as I said, into the Notre Dame game, because this is a really, really interesting matchup of two incredible defenses, two great run teams, and two offenses that have the ability to move opposing defenses off the line of scrimmage. So I think we're going to in-depth dive this one probably more than we have any other game to this point this year. So we'll do that in just a second. But first, let me tell you about some of our friends here at PHLY. I'm going to tell you about our friends over at TrueMark Financial Credit Union, because, listen, did all the holiday shopping leave you with a credit card balance that you just really weren't hoping for? Now think about this. What if you could pay it off faster and with zero interest up until 2026, because TrueMark Financial is offering zero interest on balance transfers for up to 12 months. So all of your payment will go towards your balance, not just interest. And as somebody who is paying a ton of interest on student loans, I know how difficult interest can be to bring down. So here's the play. What you're going to do is you're going to take your current credit card balance and transfer that existing balance to TrueMark Financial Visa credit card and take advantage of the amazing offer. But you do have to hurry. That offer only applies until February 28th of this year. So you have about a month and a half still, but I wouldn't wait if you're looking to kind of get better control over your financial future. And whether you're interested in earning rewards, getting cash back, or simply prefer the lower rate with everyday purchases, TrueMark Financial is the one credit card that you can choose that best fits your financial needs. Now, head on over to truemark.com/compare for full details and to apply today. TrueMark Financial, federally insured by the NCUA, equal opportunity lender. Terms and conditions apply. All loans are subject to approval. 3% balance transfer fees do apply. And of course, if you maybe missed out on that gift that you were looking to get, maybe treat yourself now that you have a little bit of financial flexibility with our friends over at Shady Rays. And just because the holiday season is over doesn't mean that Shady Rays' incredible offers need to stop. Shady Rays have awesome, durable frames, incredible optics, and they help you in some of the toughest conditions, whether it be the snow that we got this weekend or the snow we're supposed to get this upcoming weekend, which could impact all of the pro and college football games. Well, not the college football games. They're playing in sunny Florida and down south, but some of the pro playoff games coming up, you might need your Shady Rays to ward off some of the rays heading off of the Suns. Plus, they have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair that matches your style. They might even have a style in your favorite team's colors. So head on over to Shady Rays, and they're offering the best exclusive deal for our listeners, shadyrays.com. Use code PHLY for 35% off a pair of polarized sunglasses, and try for yourself the shades that are rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people, including myself. Shady Rays offers the best lost and broken replacement guarantee, and if you don't love your pair, you can return them or exchange them worry-free for up to 30 days. So head on over to shadyrays.com. Again, use the code PHLY and take 35% off a pair of polarized sunglasses. All right, this is the All Nittany Lion Podcast. Welcome back to the All Nittany Lion Podcast here on PHLY. Tyler Zulli, Jason Cabinda, Adam Telefero. And guys, it is time to turn the page as we are about 48 hours away, a little more than 48 hours away from the Orange Bowl kicking off in South Florida with Penn State, with Notre Dame. And as I mentioned before the show started, or before this segment started, it is two incredible defenses, two dynamic run groups, and two offenses that will have the ability to knock you off the line of scrimmage if you're not careful. So let's take a look at Notre Dame for a second. 23-10 win over Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, a 27-17 win over Indiana in the first round of the playoffs. This is a team, guys, that has not lost a game since they lost that one game to Northern Illinois inexplicably back on September 7th. So it has been so September is what, the 10th month of the year? It's been exactly 3 months since Notre Dame has lost a football game. Guys, this is a team that's playing some of its best football at the right time. They are a dangerous football team, and I think this is going to be an excellent game on Thursday night.
It's going to be a good one, man. I think it's probably going to be one of the most watched college football games ever because of the fan bases, and I look at the rosters, man. I mean, a lot of these guys, I know when I was recruited, almost every dude in my recruiting class, we all had scholarship offers from Notre Dame. We all, it was either like Notre Dame, Penn State, and they recruit a lot of the same type of guys, a lot of similarities in the universities. I love, Marcus Freeman. He seems like a really good coach. I mean, Al Golden was on the Penn State staff when I was there. He's the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame now. He does a great job, great coach, great players coach. So I would love to say bad things about Notre Dame because I always say I like Notre Dame, but I cannot stand their fan base, man, because they just talk so much trash. And it's not even Notre Dame alone. It's just the people that just didn't go there to just talk so much trash because they're like, just these Notre Dame folks. So,
oh, you mean the Northeast Philly Notre Dame fan? Is that the one you're referring to?
I'm sure you all know these people. Like they are all in our atmosphere and just talking crazy. So for me personally, I just want Penn State to win just for bragging, right? Because these Notre Dame people, if I want to put it in the atmosphere, if Penn State loses, we will never hear the end of this for like the next 30 years.
Yeah,
so that's what it's about, man. I'm being selfish. Like I can't hear these folks for the next 30 years. So it's gonna be an awesome game, man. It's gonna be a great game.
Yeah, I definitely am loving the banter I've been getting from a lot of my teammates that I played with in the league that went to Notre Dame, played with a lot of those guys. It's always so interesting to see, you mentioned it, Adam, just how similar the characteristics and the types of guys they recruit, guys that have high character, high values, high academically, and really great on the football field. I think that's really the makeup of both of these organizations as a whole, and it's the type of organization you can respect a lot. It's a classic matchup. Both teams, no names on the jerseys. I mean, what more could you ask for? So it would be awesome to get bragging rights against this team. And I think the coolest thing about this game is both these teams are built super, super similar. I mean, you mentioned it, Tyler. They both got excellent run games. They're both very physical football teams, great coaches who are really coaching their asses off right now. I think it's going to be a really, really good game. It's going to be a close matchup. I don't think we're going to see any blowouts in these matchups, for going through the rest of this college football playoff. So I'm excited about it. I think the X factor is going to be in the quarterback play and how that plays out.
Jace, the crazy thing the stat that I saw about quarterbacks, Penn State's the only team without a transfer quarterback playing in the semifinal right now. I was like, I didn't even.
Yes.
I did see that. I did see that. Crazy.
Yeah, Riley Leonard transfers from Duke, Will Howard from Kansas State, and then Quinn Ewers transfers from Ohio State. So I saw a pretty cool graphic. I thought it was, it's funny because when you see graphics, sometimes they're like, all right, that's a little cheesy. But it was like Drew Aller versus the portal, and it was all the other quarterbacks. And I'm like, all right, that actually kind of goes a little hard. It makes me feel like I'm a little excited for this now. Let's start. You brought up Riley Leonard and the run game. Let's start with Notre Dame's offense because they are a run-predicated team, two really good running backs. We'll see if or how much Jeremiyah Love is going to play. He's expected to play, but expected to kind of play in a limited capacity with this one. So we'll see what his availability is. If it's not Jeremiyah Love as the lead back, it's Jadarian Price, who, guys, honestly is probably a starter on like 90 other programs across the country. He's been that good. But Love, them as a team, rushed for over 3,000 yards this year. It's good for 11th across college football. Jeremiyah Love, over 1,000 yards, 16 rushing touchdowns. Jadarian Price, 720 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns. And then Riley Leonard adds another aspect of their run game. He added over 800 rushing yards and 15 touchdowns. Just the three of them alone, guys, ended up with 38 combined rushing touchdowns. This is a team that wants to run the rock. They want to pull their guards. They want to get downhill and get after you. It's a really good run team, and I think it's going to be a test up front once again to the Penn State front seven, but this time with the added difficulty of a second good running back. Again, we'll see how much Jeremiyah Love actually plays, and a quarterback who can do it with his legs as well.
Go ahead, Adam.
No, I was just saying, I mean, I want to make Riley beat us through the air. I mean, he was their leading rusher last game. He passed for 90 yards?
93 yards.
93 yards against Georgia. The thing, just watching some of their earlier games, Riley will just look at one receiver. If he's not open, he's running. And I think from our standpoint is I love that we've got these athletic linebackers that could potentially spy, whether it's a Rojas or even a Dom DeLuca, just keeping him in check. But their offense, Notre Dame is a physical-ass team. So I think that's the one thing from Penn State's perspective. I don't think they've played a team this physical maybe Ohio State, but Notre Dame, those guys up front, man, they move some people. So I was looking, I've been trying to look at the Notre Dame podcast and all that type of stuff, and I saw Love is wearing a knee brace, I guess, in practice this week. So it looks like he may be slowed down a little bit, but, to your point, Price and Riley Leonard. But the biggest thing that makes me nervous on this game is Riley Leonard, picking up it's 3rd and 8, it's 3rd and 6. He's pulling it down, and he's running for these first down, keeping drives going. So that's my one thing. If we can keep Riley Leonard, make him pass and keep him contained when he tries to bring the ball down and run, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, and I think that's where Abdul Carter playing or not playing becomes such an X factor in this game, because we've had games, for example, when Williams came in for Washington, who's a super dual threat quarterback. I mean, we had Abdul in that spy game. He did just such a good job of reading and diagnosing. And as soon as the quarterback steps up into that passing lane, he's looking to run. Abdul does such a good job of shooting those gaps. And he has the athleticism to cover the field from sideline to sideline, regardless of the type of athlete you got at quarterback. So him not playing is going to be huge. If he doesn't play, then it's going to be all about making sure our pass rush discipline in terms of the lanes are very disciplined. We keep in the pocket, don't let him get out. And that's kind of going to be the game. So, and not only that, but the aspect of, I'm glad we can say this now, because we said this in the league, but guess what? Their players get paid too. So there's going to be times on that 3rd and 9, on that 3rd and 12, where Riley just has one of those rushes and, it's a gut punch on the defense because it's like, man, we had him. But that's where I think this defense has grown so much, because we have leaders. We have the Kobe Kings and the Tony Rojas. So we're going to gather that defense together, huddle up and say, hey, it's next play. We got to be right back in it. Instead of letting that momentum kill you, you get that gut punch and then you don't recover. And now they score. And, it can't be that. They're going to go out there. They're going to make plays. They get paid too. It's going to be how we respond in those moments and how we're able to react. Because we've had a lot of drives this year where things seemed backbreaking, all of a sudden, boom, we had a pick. And the momentum just changed just like that. So we're going to have to bring that same energy to this game.
You bring up the Washington quarterback change when Penn State played them. I think the young kid from UCLA who, maybe it was a little bit too difficult of a task for him. But because you talked about talent disparity, there was a talent disparity in the Penn State UCLA game. But that kid looked poised, and I think he's going to be a good quarterback in the Big Ten. He was, I think, either a true freshman or redshirt freshman. But he played with poise, and it forced Penn State, as you brought up with that spy, to kind of pull away from their pass rush a little bit. This is such a multi-dimensional offense where it's like, as you brought up, Adam, like, don't let them beat you on 3rd down. And I was surprised when I started doing the stat deep dives. I was stunned. I just assumed good run game, dual threat quarterback. They seem to be a team that gets ahead and stay ahead of the sticks. They are 80th in 3rd down conversions this year as an offense. I was stunned when I saw that because of everything that we just laid out. So it feels like, I don't want to simplify it or boil it down to like one X's and O's portion of the game, but it feels like such an imperative moment for the defense to get off the field on 3rd down when they have the opportunity to.
Yeah, and to keep them off schedule so that those 3rd downs are long situations and tough situations for the offense to overcome. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, you look back at that Georgia game. Now, we've talked about it throughout this year. It's just that middle 8, the last 4 minutes of the second quarter and the first 4 of the 3rd quarter, that's where Notre Dame won that game. They got that strip sack and, quick pass touchdown near the end of the half, and then they open up with a, return. That's 14 points right there. So, we spoke about it, but I guess that's my way of saying their offense didn't do anything that last game. I was like, oh my God, I'm super impressed with their offense. I mean, they had some really nice circumstances that led to that victory. So, I mean, I think if our defense plays their game, we're all right.
So one last thing with the run game, as we mentioned, we're not sure what Jeremiyah Love's status is going to be. As they said, expected to play, but what capacity, not quite sure yet. So Jadarian Price, as I said, 720 yards is kind of like the backup, which is just super impressive. 7 touchdowns to his name. He talked about Ashton Jeanty, and the way that I think the words he used and the way that he was talking about them almost got parsed into 2 different things, because he basically said, he thinks that Notre Dame's offense is more capable of doing things against Penn State defense than Ashton Jeanty and Boise State did. And, I'm assuming probably Boise State fans go, well, what are you saying? Ashton Jeanty's not good? And I don't think Jadarian Price was saying it that way. I think what he was saying was, we're physical, our O-line is really, really good, and we feel comfortable what we can do with our skill set. So the last thing with this offense before we talk about their defense is the offensive line play has been really impressive. They've only given up 18 sacks this year, 15 to Riley Leonard this whole season. So it's not like they're giving up a ton of sacks. They're 24th best in college football. And they're, as I mentioned a couple of times, like, it seems to me that they love pulling their guards. It seems to me they love getting their offensive line out in space and like just having guys just mow, cornerbacks and linebackers down in the second level. How does Tom Allen and the defense, how do you guys envision them kind of schematically embracing that, knowing that they have an offensive line that's good, that's physical, and they want to run the rock? Like, how would you guys take a look at Penn State's defense this week and plan accordingly for this Notre Dame's offense?
It's got to be a heavy 1 high game, cover 3 and cover 1. And in this run game, this is the type of run game that loves to manipulate linebackers. You already talked about it. Pulling those guards. They want to get the linebackers scraping over the top and out of position. They open up again downhill and get some lanes on you. And all of a sudden, guards are pulling. Now it's play action pass. And he sucked at the linebackers. Now there's space in the in-between coverage between the linebackers and the safeties that are in the back half. So that's the type of game that they want to play. So for us, it's got to be cover 3, cover 1, spill the hell out of these runs, spill the hell out of these pullers, get the ball outside, and then we got to make tackles in the alley. That's what it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to, can we make this ball spill out? Not let them get these lanes inside and shoot and get north and south on us quick. Make them go east to west, and then we got to tackle well in the alley. This is going to be Jaden Reed. It's going to be Zakee Wheatley. It's going to be Kobe King, Tony Rojas, Dom DeLuca. They've got to have a great game tackling and wrapping up these ball carriers because they're very talented. They have a 1-2 punch that almost at the same level that we have our 1-2 punch. So we know they're for real.
Man, what Jason said, I think the thing that is really impressed me last time, I know we already spoke about it, was just how solid our tackling was this past game. I think, our guys got to keep that, missed tackles. We can't have that this game. And the thing that I would love to see, I think, I'm not saying anything that's rocket science. If we can get a turnover in this game, if we get one turnover, I think that could change the whole complexity of this game because this Notre Dame offense, I don't know how adept they are at playing from behind. When Riley has to start putting that ball up, really putting that ball up, then I think they're going to be in trouble. But if Notre Dame can, as we talked about, if they can just pound that rock and those linemen can get out there and create some lanes, then we may have some problems. But if we can get a turnover, we can make him put it in the air, I like our chances.
Yeah, I think we're going to need 2 to win this game.
Yeah.
I think we're going to need 2. 1 to flip the momentum, and then we're going to need 1 at the end of the game to end the game.
Yeah.
That's the way it's going to go. We're going to have to steal a possession. It's going to be one of those games where the positions are very evenly matched. So if you can steal a possession, that's going to highly flip the game in our favor. So that's going to be huge in this game for sure.
You guys bring up the turnover margin. Notre Dame is plus 18 in the turnover margin. They've created 31 turnovers. They've turned the ball over just 13 times. It's 2 teams that have done a good job all year of protecting the rock. It's 2 teams that have done a good job all year of taking it away from opposing oppositions. I know that, we hammer home turnover battle, third down battle, red zone battle. We do it a lot on this show. But there's good reason behind it, right, guys? Because, you're talking about the Final Four teams. These are good football teams. You don't win these type of games. If you're any of these 4 teams, I don't mean just for Penn State. If you're Notre Dame, you're Texas, you're Ohio State, you don't win these type of games if you're -2 or -3 in the turnover margin in that game.
Absolutely. No doubt about it.
All right, guys, so we got a lot more to talk about with this Notre Dame team. We'll flip the field. We'll talk about Penn State's offense versus Notre Dame's defense. We'll talk a little bit about Ohio State and Texas, and then we'll get into a larger scope conversation surrounding the landscape of college football as the college football playoff unwinds. We'll do that all coming up right here on the other side. This is the All Nittany Lion Podcast right here on PHLY. And let me tell you about our friends over at Rothman Orthopedic, because listen, you got achy joints, your cramps, your back out of whack. Well, listen, Rothman's got you. I have been dealing with this weird knee injury for 3 years now because I'm stubborn and don't want to go to PT like I should. It just continues to get a little bit worse and a little bit worse. And it's probably time for me to call my friends over at Rothman Orthopedics because they have specialized care that has been their passion for over 50 years. High quality, compassionate, and affordable care rooted in research leading to new treatments and better outcomes. And each Rothman doc is laser focused on their specialty, whether it be hips, knees, as I said, probably going to need that, your spine, your back, whatever it is, you name it. They have a team for each body part right in your backyard. So listen, if you're dealing with some aches, some pains, some joint problems, or if you're a little bit stubborn like me and you don't love to go to the doctors for whatever reason, you can turn to the great folks at Rothman Orthopedic because they have 200 plus fellowship trained physicians who specialize in that specific area of the body and a multitude of orthopedic services, including, as I said, knee, hip, spine, shoulder, elbow, foot and ankle, hand and wrist, sports medicine, physical medicine, rehabilitation, orthopedic oncology, trauma, fracture care. Whatever you need, Rothman has the right coverage for you and the right specialized doctors and specialists for you to see. Rothman Orthopedics, specialized in orthopedics and you. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more or to make an appointment today. And if you're thinking about popping the question to that special someone, now that the holidays are over, I actually just yesterday, in fact, was 6 years now since my wife and I got engaged. So I would not recommend anybody else except our friends over at Golden Nugget Jeweler, because they're going to help you work through the perfect ring for that special someone, whether it's the cut, the clarity, the shape, whatever it might be. The 5 C's, as they say, of jewelry. Our friends over at Golden Nugget can help you out. And they're local, 8th and Chestnut in downtown Philly, and they've been family owned and operated since 1987. So again, if you're thinking about popping the question, they have a wide assortment of rings and wedding bands that are going to fit just about everybody's style. And you're going to get a final cleaning and a written appraisal with every engagement ring purchase. So you're not going to have to worry about getting your ring and worrying about, is it going to get dirty? Is it going to get scuffed up? They're going to bring you the perfect cut, the perfect ring that's just for you. And Golden Nugget doesn't just have wedding jewelry. If you're looking for watches, necklaces, bracelets, earrings, anything that your heart desires post holiday season, whether you're looking to pop the question or just looking to get an extra special gift for that special someone, head on down to 8th and Chestnut and talk to our friends over at Golden Nugget Jeweler, where Philly gets engaged. Welcome back to the All Nittany Lion Podcast here on PHLY. Tyler Zulli, Adam Telefera, Jason Kabinda. And guys, we talked about the Penn State defense matching up against the Notre Dame offense. Let's flip the field a little bit and talk about the Notre Dame defense matching up against the Penn State offense, because it's no surprise, guys, the 4 teams remaining in the college football playoff, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, are 4 of the 8 best teams when it comes to total defense. Ohio State is 1st, Texas is 3rd, Penn State is 6th, Notre Dame is 8th. Seems to me the formula for success in this new era of college football and the college football playoff, where you have to win either 3 or 4 games to be a national champion, is to play good defense. These are 4 of the 8 best defenses left. If you think about it in that landscape, not a surprise that these are the 4 teams left remaining.
Yeah. Defense wins championships, man. We've been saying it for a long, long time. There's a reason behind it.
That's it, man. I mean, all that flash, all the offenses, which is nice, but at the end of the day, you got to be able to stop people. And Penn State has just done a fantastic job of doing that, and keeping our fingers crossed that we keep that train rolling on Thursday night.
So let's talk about Notre Dame's defense. Stop me when I become redundant. Blitz, 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 blitz. You get the point. This team blitzes at some of the highest rates in college football. And I know that that's been a talking point and a contentious point for Penn State fans over the last 10 days or so, because Penn State's offensive line, which has been very, very good this year, did struggle a little bit with blitz protection and blitz pickup against Boise State. Drew Aller was sacked 4 times in this one. And Notre Dame is probably a better pass rush than what Boise State provided. It was a good pass rush against Boise State. It's probably a really good pass rush, or a great pass rush even, against Notre Dame. So, guys, my assumption is Notre Dame's going to stack the box. They're going to force Drew Aller to beat them to somebody who isn't Tyler Warren. Adam, you brought up earlier in the show the emergence last week of Amari Evans and of Trey Wallace and those guys. So to me, it feels like they're going to kind of have a similar game plan to what, Jason, you brought up, which was tackle well, get to the quarterback, stop the run, and force Penn State's offense to also play from behind the sticks.
Yeah, I think it's definitely been somewhat of a thorn in our shoe, this handling these blitzes. I think this is a copycat sport in general. You put something on tape and it don't look good, you best believe the next week that team's going to come after your ass and see if you corrected that mistake or not. So Notre Dame's going to come after them with the blitz, and it's going to be a matter of how does Penn State handle it. And I'll say this, because I was doing a deep dive, because these teams are so similar. Like, what is the difference? What can be a difference maker in this game? And it's really how Notre Dame can handle 12 and 13 personnel. We've seen as of late, Penn State has used a ton of Luke Reynolds, Tyler Warren, and Khalil Dinkins in different types of sets, 12 and 13, heavy personnel to run the ball well. Well, that's also going to translate into pass pro. How well can Penn State switch formations? And when we switch formation, we got to be able to look at the defense. Okay, how did the defense change? We got to identify it. Okay, the blitz is coming from here, and Drew's going to have to do all this at the line of scrimmage. Get us in the right protection and go play ball. That's what it's going to be about. And then at the end of the day, things may not look perfect. That's where we're going to need Drew to be able to use his legs as he has all year long, whether it's a run it or to throw it or to, throw the ball away and make sure that the offense stays on schedule. So that's going to be an important part of this game because Notre Dame is in the bottom 20% in the FBS and handling 12 personnel. So I think Penn State's going to have a heavy dose of heavy personnel in this game because of that.
Yeah, I love it. And Penn State did struggle a little bit with the blitz last game and, expected to come this game as well. But our two guys that we have ridden all year, number 10 and number 13, let's roll with them. I'm like, hey, Notre Dame, you're going to have to prove to me that in the first quarter that you can stop the run. I'm just going to pound that thing until you show me. And I think I saw in one of the comments, you blitz, you make a bad blitz and make an alley, we taking it. We taking it to the house. So I'm so excited to see how these guys are going to match up against each other because, we've said it numerous times, they're so similar. But, I know we're biased. I'm taking our guys. I mean, our offensive line, we've had some injuries throughout the year, but the way that these guys have stepped up, hey, shout out to Nolan Rucci out there. I mean, he wasn't playing much. He was behind Dunca, and he came in, and he's been one of the highest rated, offensive linemen in the entire playoff. So let's see. Let's see who's going to be more physical. This is going to be a match of wills, and I think our guys have really shown that they're ready to step up.
So I'm glad you guys bring up the physicality, the 2 tight end sets, the 3 tight end sets. And it seemed like in the Boise State game, at least, and in other games this year, Kaytron sets the tone early. The stretch runs to the outside against Boise State, the more physical runs. And then Nick Singleton breaks off the 58-yard gainer in the second half to bust the game wide open to win 30, to get to the 31 mark. That model of success to me seems like one that's been super fruitful for Penn State this year on the ground game. I'm curious your guys' thoughts. Any thought to maybe having a 2 running back set, going with a split back type of situation where you can kind of determine at the line, does Kaytron need to pick up a pass in pass pro? You have the explosive play making ability out of the backfield from Nick Singleton on like a wheel route or a swing or a Texas or whatever the case may be. Any thought to you guys maybe going with a handful of sub packages with both of those guys out on the field at the same time?
I see that possibly being something that we roll out there maybe 3 or 4 times during this game, but I don't see it being something that we, rely on in any type of extensive way. I feel way better about what we can do in 12, 13 personnel than we do in 20 or 21, just because I don't feel like Kaytron or Nick are that much of a passing threat that it keeps the defense honest enough for that to be very effective.
Yeah, and we saw a little bit. I think we saw a good amount last year, down the goal line situations, but haven't seen much of it, this year. And I think at this point of the season, you are what you are, and I don't see Andy switching it up too much. It would be a nice wrinkle, and it's weird, man. I had a dream the other night. It's crazy that we came out and just ran a flea flicker the first game. Like I'm playing Super Tecmo Bowl, man. That's why I can never be a coach, because I'm coming out there, handing it to Singleton and letting him pitch it back. And let's just do something crazy the first game. That, of course, it'd be like a sack or a fumble and we mess it all up. But it was weird, man. I just had this dream. We came out with a flea flicker the first play of the game.
It's so funny that you bring that up, Adam. It's one of those things where it's like, if it works, it's the greatest call ever. And if it doesn't, it's like, what the bleep is this guy doing? You set yourself back for 2nd and 22 or something after one play.
And it's totally contrary to everything I just said about being physical, running the ball down the third. You come out, do something cute and mess up. But it was just weird. I woke up like, man, I just had a dream about them throwing a flea flicker in the first play of the game.
But this is the time to do it. This is the time where all the tricks need to come out. There ain't nothing to hide now. It's 2 more games to win. If they see it, they see it. But I'm sure with a guy like AK as our offensive coordinator, the well is very deep.
Well, and it's one of those things where, not to get too far ahead of myself, but if there's a plausibility, because they are both still alive, that there could be a national championship that features Penn State and Ohio State. If that's the case, I often think about like the 7-game series in the NBA or in the NHL or in Major League Baseball, where there's no hiding things anymore. Like, what their pick sets are, and what the line changes are, and like, all right, this lefty's coming in to face our lefty. Like, at some point, it's just, are we better than you or are we not? And, if that's the case, if that does come to a fruition, which, again, is plausible, not speaking it that far ahead, there is a momentary pause of like, all right, it's our best versus your best. Let's see what we can do.
Yep.
Oh yeah, and those are the best type of games.
All right, one last thing when it comes to this Notre Dame defense versus the Penn State offense, and I guess we could talk about Penn State as well. But we said earlier in the show, we simplify things down a lot to ball protection, red zone abilities, and time of possession a lot. But red zone for both of these teams is a sticking point for their defenses. Notre Dame is the 5th best red zone defense in college football. Penn State's the 4th best red zone defense in college football. So not only are scoring opportunities potentially going to come at a premium just in total, but getting into the red zone doesn't guarantee you a touchdown against these two teams. Is it simple enough to say the team that scores more efficiently, and I'm talking about touchdowns over field goals in the red zone, that's probably the team that's going to win this game?
100%. Oh, 100%. I mean, we have drills in practice where we do red zone drill. The defense wins by the offense kicking a field goal. And the offense kicks a field goal, they get 3 points. The defense gets 4. Because in terms of the room, the coaches, how we consider it in the sport, we consider that being a stop and being a win for the defense. So if we could do that on multiple occasions and we on the other side are able to convert and get touchdowns, I mean, those are great trades for us.
Yeah. I mean, I look back to that Texas-Arizona State game. You know, Texas was settling for field goals and was missing them. They almost got knocked off because they couldn't score in the red zone. So I couldn't agree more. But I just keep harkening back. I think if Penn State, if both teams play clean games, I take Penn State. I keep saying I'm biased, but if we don't, and another thing is just penalties, man. We can't have these penalties that wipe out big plays for us.
Yeah.
And another, special teams, man. Like, look, Notre Dame returned the kickoff. That changed the tone of that game coming out, returning that kick. So, it's often, it's always often forgotten, but special teams. So if we do get in the red zone, we got to, we got to convert those field goals. We can't have these, 30-yard misses, 20-yard misses. So it's just, again, I'm speaking to the choir. We talked about it all year. If we play a clean game, I like our chances.
Especially as you guys always bring up, like none of those passion penalties, right? The ones that are post-contact, post-play ends, the ones that are just kind of self-inflicted wounds, if you will.
And the game is close. Yeah, game is close. You can't have that.
Yeah, it's selfish. Can't have it.
All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about – we got a couple minutes left. Let's talk a little bit about the landscape of college football as we head into these games and the final 3 games of the 2024-2025 season. I think, of course, the overall conversation is going to be, does the college football playoff get reworked or revamped maybe as early as next year? Because the final 4 teams that are remaining are Texas, who was the 5, Penn State's the 6, Notre Dame's the 7, and Ohio State was the 8. None of the conference winners ended up advancing. Oregon gets knocked off by Ohio State in an absolute they beat them into submission. Arizona State loses to Texas. Boise State loses to Penn State. Clemson lost to Texas in the first round, and Georgia loses to Notre Dame. So do you guys think there's going to be a fairly quick change of the seedings when it comes to the college football playoff? Or is this more just hey, man, it's a playoff. It's one game. Anything could happen. It's on you guys for not winning the game.
I think there's too much going on in college football right now that are just bigger problems than the seedings that just need to be addressed before we even worried about the seedings. Look, at the end of the day, everybody was crying for a 12-team playoff. We got it. I think they need to let this model hit for a few years. And if it's that deep and that serious, because we're seeing games that are blowouts or teams that really, shouldn't be in there, then okay, we revisit it. But at the end of the day, we made a change. Let's stick by what we changed it to. I hate society nowadays and the way we flip-flop back and forth all the time. Like, let's just stay here, see how it goes. But in terms of transfer portal, in terms of NIL, in terms of we don't have a commissioner and inside of the NCAA right now, like, those are way, way bigger looming issues that are trickling down in ways that we would never want to see in our sport right now.
Yeah. And I haven't followed it too closely, but from what I heard is in order to make any changes next year, it's got to be unanimous. And then in 2026, I guess when the new TV deals are up, there can be some type of shifting of the playoff situation. But God forbid, if Penn State wins the national championship, people are going to be like, they had the easiest path and blah, blah, blah. So, we're going to hear it. I don't want to get too far ahead of it, but to your point, hey, you got to play the games on the field. The thing that I love about this is that everyone had to play the games on the field. win the games. So everyone that's supposed to be there because they proved it on the field. That's all, throughout the entire playoff system. I don't want these hypotheticals played on the field. That's exactly what's happened. So, hey, again, you just hating. If you're mad about what's going on, hey, the games are played on the field.
Hey, man, Alabama is the best hypothetical football team this season. Undefeated hypothetical games.
That's why I love Michigan. I love Michigan beating them.
So, Jason, you brought up a handful of topics, and obviously those are like we could have an hour-long podcast just on those things alone.
Yeah.
Any of those things kind of like stand out to you as to be maybe the most detrimental or maybe the most need to be changed? Like, what to you is like the biggest picture thing here, and like what do you think is the immediate conversation topic this offseason?
The NCAA having a commissioner, without a doubt. I think they're not student athletes anymore. It's just pro sports now. The way we structure it organizationally needs to be run like it's pro sports. The NFL has a commissioner. The NCAA needs a commissioner. We need somebody that every single day when they wake up and every single day when they go to sleep, they're thinking in their heads, what is the best thing that I can do for college football and to move this thing forward in a positive way? Because right now, between NIL, between transfer portal, between academic calendars, things are an absolute mess. I mean, it's just not right. You got dudes on some teams asking for money before games, saying they're not going to play if they don't get. I mean, this is stuff that you think are unheard of. Cam Ward's freaking not. What is it? He stopped at halftime, so to get his little record. Like, just from a standpoint of what we're teaching the kids, the values. Like, there's just too many things that are going to detriment. I think right now in this current system.
I saw a tweet and I thought it was kind of comical, and then the more I thought about it, it was actually kind of serious. And it said, we need to find a balance somewhere between getting Reggie Bush his Heisman back and paying or having a guy transfer from his transfer before he even played from the first Like, there was somebody, I forget who it was, they committed and then they kind of enrolled, I think, and then they decommitted and then transferred, and then they're asking to transfer portal again. It was like we need to find a balance between, like, I fully support guys getting their NIL deals and fully support guys getting paid, because coaches and schools and all these guys, all these, high echelon people within the universities have been making money off of these players for a really long time. Guys should be able to go get theirs as well. They deserve it. They've earned it. And also, how do you do it within like the grand scope of college football, so it's not like the wild, wild west of college football?
Yeah.
And these are tough questions, and they're tough, and they're very complex, and every university is different. The way each university is doing NIL is different, between collectives, through the school. I mean, there's a lot to handle, and that's the reason why you need somebody who's the main man thinking about all these things, every single day, because they're big issues.
But like I said, the one thing you see now is that the SEC is no longer reigning supreme when.
Now that everybody can pay players,
all can pass them dollars around. You see what's happening.
Not gonna make any assumptions, but now that everybody can pay their players, it seems like the playing field has been leveled a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. So let's talk. Let's just wrap this thing up really quickly. Thursday night, the Orange Bowl, Penn State, Notre Dame. I think, biases aside from all of us, I think objectively, Penn State has a very good chance to win this game. As you guys brought up, does Penn State turn the ball over? Does Notre Dame get off the field on third down? Like, the finite things are going to be the difference maker in this one. But I think both teams have a good chance of winning this game. I believe, for those that care about the betting lines, Penn State is plus 2.5 at last I saw, which means it's going to be a close game. Guys, are we talking about a Penn State team playing for a national championship next week?
Most definitely are. 27-21 Penn State.
I was going 24-20 Penn State.
I've been back and forth on this game the whole time. I don't know. By the way, I don't know what happened there. There was just this, like, did you guys see that weird?
Yeah, we just switched for no reason.
That was so weird. I don't know what happened. I've been back and forth on this one for the longest time, because it's like, as you guys brought up, they're so similar. They're so structured the same way. Both have good head coaches. Both are disciplined football teams. But there's no reason for me to say that, like, this isn't, a 10, like Penn State a couple years ago, sneaking into a game and having no business being there, or whatever the case may be. Like, this is a really good Penn State team and it's a really good Notre Dame team. I think there's a fair chance we're talking about Penn State playing Ohio State or Texas for a national championship next week. And I know we're supposed to do this in an objective way, but like I can't help but smile when I say
that. It's crazy.
It's going to be awesome.
All right, guys. So as always, I enjoyed our time together. This is one of my favorite hours of the week, especially today with not having had a chance to talk to you guys in a couple weeks and the magnitude of this show. So we'll be back next week. Win or lose, we'll be back next week. It'll either be a wrap-up show, a sad postmortem show, or we'll be talking about Penn State playing either Ohio State and Texas for a national championship. So thank you to everybody who tuned in today, everybody on TV, our Roku, our streaming platforms. Thank you to all of you. And, of course, thank you to you guys, to Adam Telfair, to Jason Kabinda. You guys make my hour so much fun. I always enjoy chatting with you guys. So a blast, as always, to be with you.
Good to be with you guys, as always.
All right, guys, we'll talk to you all next week, 4 o'clock, same time, same channel, as we either talk about Penn State's season coming to a close or what we're all hoping, Penn State playing Ohio State or Texas for the national championship. Orange Bowl Thursday night against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish should be an excellent one. I can't wait. I know you can't either. So we'll chat with you next week, next Tuesday at 4 o'clock, and we hope to talk to you then. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.